professor, physician, epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, and in this segment, we'll be going over how to convert your content, any sort of writing, into a peer-reviewed publication journal article. So let's go ahead and get started here. Some of the things to consider. These are things that I've learned over the years of publishing and experience. Some of which you might not see elsewhere. So the first thing that is important to consider when you're converting is the impact factor. While impact factor doesn't capture everything for the journal, in public health and in medicine, this is a very strong indicator of the performance of the journal and the scope and the range of readership that the journal has. So the next thing to look for is, are your objectives truly aligned with the mission or the understanding of the type of subject areas that are focused on. So it's important to align those things to make sure that this is the right journal. You also can measure this by looking into other articles that may have been written in the same subject area. So, for instance, if you're looking for depression, then in order to look for the proper journal outlet, you don't want to send that to a cardiology journal. Not necessarily. And if you look, there's going to be cardiovascular disease related issues rather than depression. So you would have to make sure that there is not misalignment. The next thing to look for is article processing charges. Now, APCs, these are what I look for initially when there is an instructions to authors. Some of them are open access. I've experienced this where the funding comes from the government. And this happened to me in one of the journal outlets. Another one is you have optional open access, which means that you have the option of selecting open access for a fee, or you have the option of selecting closed access, and you get to publish your article free. So those are the two types of article processing charges. The third one could be something like mandatory open access. So that means that you, in that journal type, you have only the option of paying for your journal. Now, a lot of people will say that if you're paying for an article, this automatically is a predatory journal. And by the way, predatory journal means ones that are in not in Beall's list, and that's a place where you can look for journal articles. So you want to avoid predatory journal articles. However, you want to make sure that you're getting the right journal articles, even from reputable places. So this is how you decide what your choice is based on your funding level, based on any sort of affiliation that you have, which may be aligned with the funding of the APCs. So looking at the types of referencing. Now this is important because in some places they'll tell you that APA is the predominant type of referencing style. Now in public health and medical journals, this is not necessarily the case. I've published in a lot of journal articles where the type of referencing was an AMA, American Medical Association. And then there's other types, Chicago. You'll also find a lot of times that there's articles, the articles that are have their own type of referencing style. And that's why I encourage you to look at a reference manager. And I haven't written this here, but it's good to look for a reference manager that works for you. Zotero has worked for me over the years. There's others. Mendeley is another one. There's free version and paid versions of those. So types of references, of course, sometimes are non-customary. The cover letter, you want to make sure that you have a template type of cover letter that you can tweak over the years and make sure that it is appropriate for the journal article that you wrote. And you want to include the name of the journal article, the person you're writing to, or your editor, and some of the main components in terms of findings and why they're so important could be included in the cover letter. Then, what's important to note is that a full journal article is not the only type of article that you can have. You can also have letters to the editor. And a lot of times in JAMA, where I've published before, Journal of American Medical Association, letters to the editor are much easier to publish in a prestigious journal. And then research briefs. This is also another type of journal article that I have written. And sometimes these are ways that you can communicate research and scientific findings without having to explain this thoroughly. Sometimes that is the best way to communicate research findings. For instance, I had a paper on pulmonary hypertension, and I was able to publish this as a research brief in a medical journal. So these are the elements that are important to consider when you're thinking about converting either a dissertation, a thesis, or any sort of type of work into a peer-reviewed scholarly journal article. Thank you for listening.